everybody talking about the Michigan school with the pole dancing. What am I talking about? Aussies, if you don't know, because you probably don't, because you don't care. There's a school in Michigan that in November last year took some of their students on a field trip to experience some culture by watching an orchestra. Unfortunately, the culture that they experienced during that field trip also included being at a strip club. It cost $27. They were supposed to do an itinerary of going to the orchestra, having lunch at a pizza joint. The lunch at the pizza joint is where this all happens. So apparently the pizza joint doubles as or joins onto a section of their business that is also a club at night or on the weekends. And due to overcapacity, apparently the students and teachers were directed to the overflow room, which happened to be upstairs or adjacent or something, and it was what they used for clubbing activities and pole dancing because there were poles in the room. So there's been some kind of conjecture, oh no, they're there for decoration. They're for decoration? You have them on platforms surrounded by couches. That's not a decoration. There's a couple of things that I want to unpack about this situation. In my country, if this happened, mostly it'd be pretty funny, I think. In 2007, keep in mind I'm old as fuck so I remember this, we had a Prime Minister, well, an opposition leader called Kevin Rudd, and he was going to be a Prime Minister. He was in the lead up and the run up, and he was doing the press junkets in the circus, and he went on a talk show and he admitted the fact that he had been to a strip club. And a flurry of articles came out. People were interviewing him, wanting him to make a statement on it, wanting him to apologise because technically it was on the taxpayer dime, which we are all not a fan of, right, when things like that happen. But there's articles that this won't do, and there's articles that said it's hurt his run for the election. Thing is, I lived it, and no it didn't. It made him more popular than ever, actually. And his promise of giving us, what is it called? I can't remember what they call it. But it was like, you know, Obama phone, like his economic stimulus package kind of thing. He gave us all like $750. And I remember I spent it on some really gothy kind of Kiss looking boots and a bunch of stuff like that. And I remember thinking he was the coolest guy ever. I mean, you know, I was young, like really young. I was like, hell yeah. He went to a strip club. You go, old man. Get it. My attitude towards spending taxpayers' money on your bullshit has obviously changed. But that was it. He was kind of cool for a bit there because he said that he'd been to strip clubs and he was kind of like, oh, one of the boys. And it was kind of cute and kind of charming because he was such a softly spoken little man with glasses and nobody was really taking him that seriously. So it had charm, and I think that's what got him elected. But what I'm trying to talk about is the fact that in my country, I don't think accidentally taking children, teenagers to a strip club would be as big a deal. However, it also is as well. Because for me, at least, I would want to know what the person chaperoning this thing was doing. You're responsible for that many human beings that don't belong to you. You've got to check the safety of things. You've got to have the timing down pat because you can't afford to lose someone on the field trip or something. You've got to know the location. I mean, for me, I guess I would be looking for the exits and things like that and ring ahead to double check the capacity. That's just things that you do as an adult when you're responsible. So it is kind of disturbing that these people that don't have the foresight in executing a plan where they're responsible for other people's lives. I know it's only a field trip, but still, you're responsible for somebody else's welfare. The least you could have done is research the place and then called ahead. And it shouldn't have happened. As in, not, it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened, as in, get your shit together. And I've got to say, the majority of teachers that I meet or that I know, they're not great people in the rest of their lives. And the ones that are decent enough people, you're a shit teacher. Because you're there to teach a subject. I mean, half of these people that I've talked to, they're on my friends list or something and they're posting and I can see that their grasp of grammar is severely in need of help. And they're teaching your kids, even inadvertently. I don't want, say, to have a child that's learning, let's say, something completely different. I don't know, they're learning chemistry or something and the teacher turns around and they write something Do teachers still write on the fucking board anymore? I don't even know. But whatever, when you see a teacher write something and they say, oh, I went out last weekend and I brought this cool thing. Honey, it's not brought, it's bought. That's what you learn when you're 7 in English class. Just inadvertently fucking your kids up. And they'll do it about TV shows and they'll do it about politics and everything because they're spending that much time with the kids that it's all comfortable and they can, well, they think they can say whatever they want. So once again, inadvertently influencing your kids because that's what they need. I mean, in addition to TV shows about just loving themselves being 400 pounds, or TV shows about how you can be totally knee-jerk reaction, lop off a body part when you're not feeling great in your mind rather than seek mental health assistance. Fighting against so much stuff as parents or as a community or as a society, and the pillars of society that help to raise the children when you can't because you might be at work or something, they're falling very, very short. And they're freaking proud of it. Because right now, the societal climate of this kind of thing is they're a product of the last, decade or so, 20 years or so, from a college or a university campus that is predominantly left-leaning, and sort of put them on a path to be okay with being a perpetual child, not understanding any relevant history and not realizing that, yeah, times change, technology changes, but people are the same. You have to take responsibility for yourself. And now you've got 30 odd other small human beings you're supposed to take care of. So what are you doing? Not planning this properly and not on the day calling ahead 15 minutes before saying, hey, did you guys chuck the pizzas in the oven because I've got 30 kids, we're on our way. Even as a normal adult, taking care of other adults, meeting at a diner or something, I'm going to call ahead and say, hey, my party's about to come, especially on a day where it's busy. Okay, so the teacher's a dickhead, okay, whatever. The next thing about that I wanted to talk about was the fact that children were playing on the poles. Look, children are going to play on poles. That didn't sound right. But it's true. You catch the train and if there's a young child, it's swinging around like a monkey and just carrying on and playing games and pretending they're Tarzan and all sorts of stuff with their friends. So I don't put it past teenagers to be doing that too. Teenagers do have access to porn more than you think you know. So yeah, they know what to do on that pole and they're mucking around. It's just a thing. It's put there. They're being silly. I don't think it was supposed to be sexual or anything, but a moment in time was captured on camera and that's what was happening. But I will say that leads me on to something else and gets me thinking about this thing that happened to me once. So I was dating a guy that was very musically inclined, as was I, and I was supporting him at a gig that he was doing. And he never played this place before. I can't remember what it's called. But we'd never been there. We had no idea. We didn't really go to that side of the city or anything like that. So we went there, we had myself, we had his, I think, 2 or 3 best friends, and we walked in, and it sounds like the same thing. So in the daytime, it was somewhere where you could have a beer or you could go for a drink. So they were kind of picnic tables almost, where they had a table in the middle and seats either side that were joined together. But in the table, there were poles. And I'd never been to anywhere like that before. And I remember my boyfriend at the time saying to me, sort of whispering, looking down, like, do not touch anything. Just don't sit there and don't touch anything because we're going to get the herpes. Like, So I'm saying, you took the kids somewhere where they've probably got AIDS now, like, well done. So that's another thing. I mean, that was probably a thing that would have pissed me off. I would have found the situation funny as a parent, besides the whole lack of responsibility from the teacher in vetting the place, but also that you potentially got my kid diseased. A trustee on the board outed this. So I can't remember if he was the one that took the photo or that he got hold of it and he made it public or put it around. And the school comes out and threatens to sue him for bringing their reputation into disrepute. It's like, you did it to yourself? They were in a public area. This was a public outing. And that really pisses me off because it just kind of reminds me that the whole school system as it is one that doesn't want to take responsibility anymore. They want your kid to learn about bullshit but not the substance. And on top of that, they want to wash their hands of all responsibility once you have a problem with the way they're conducting themselves or teaching or choosing to take your kids on a field trip. I really think there's a problem with that. This guy just came out and showed what was there, what happened, and how dare you threaten this guy for speaking the truth. That is what happened. Take what you want from what happened. I took what I wanted from the photo, as can everybody else. If anything, I would have assumed that the establishment had grounds to sue the guy. I mean, now they're the ones sitting there with the interior of their business splashed all over the internet with tweens on poles. It's not a good look. Don't want to be one of those people that's asking you to sub and like, but if you feel like commenting or liking, that would help me out. It'll give me the power to do more of these episodes.